Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders, so let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches and athletic directors, our sponsor Scoreboard Media has an incredible opportunity for your school. Right now, they're giving away 2 large LED video scoreboards, $152,000 value per school, to 32 select high schools across the country. Scoreboard Media pays for the boards, the software racks, and iPad controllers, as well as the delivery and installation. On top of that, they'll run the entire advertising program, generating a significant revenue sharing opportunity for the school. Since 2021, Scoreboard Media has been helping high schools upgrade their gyms and execute professional sponsorship programs. Not every school qualifies, and they're signing up new schools every week. So inventory is moving fast, and the install calendar is filling up for the summer. If you're interested, reach out to Scoreboard Media founder Charlie Megan at charlie@scoreboardmedia.com to set up a call and see if there's a fit.
It's a little bit different because we have some like hard start dates and things like that. And so similar to when we were playing in college, like first team practice was October 15th. So for us, we have a month of school before we even get to have our first team practice. And so we're going to do some strength and conditioning stuff. It'll allow us to do some stuff in the film room and talk a little bit about our culture and our program, and then allow the guys to have some open gym, which we're not allowed to be involved with before we start our first team practice. And so we're going to be able to, as Don Meyer used to say, we're going to sprinkle the culture stuff at them over a month before we start with our team practices. And so I think there is some similarities in how we're going to be able to do that. But I've had all summer to build relationships with our players. I was able to recruit over half of our team to this season. And so I think there's some things there that are maybe a little bit different with relationship building, but it's, as far as the program stuff, yeah, we're going to get to sit back and the guys are going to get to show us a little bit about what they're good at already.
I love that Don Meyer idea, and I think that's good for all of us to do. Even if you're a high school coach, that first day of school, we have an athletic period and we can be hands-on with them. I think you sprinkle culture over a month or two. I think you got to be very careful about day one. Here are 5 pillars. Boom, go. Adopt it now, believe in it. It's on everything. And then you're just going from there into defensive shell drill, right? Like that's the order that, or the speed that we go. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but, and I think I got this a little bit more from my PGC days of really taking our time with those standards. And so we take a word a week, but with each, like the word excellence, we try to take it about how does it work with them as a person first? Like, what does excellence look like? Then as a player, but also as a student. And what does excellence look like with our facilities? Like you kind of think it's absorbed, like sprinkling in constantly over just pouring it all in one day and then hope. Then it's almost like we're checking a box at that point. Like, hey, they got it. I told them what it was. And then in November, I'm going to bring out this one little quote that we used 3 months ago and remind them of why they should be doing it. I love that idea. And whether you can't do anything with them or you can, I think sprinkling it in is a good way to do it.
Yeah. And, I have a quick story about last year. Things were going well. The guys were working really hard in the fall, and I was bringing some guest speakers in because I'm kind of paranoid about the guys getting tired of hearing my voice, and so I was bringing other coaches in, retired coaches, and different people, some youth pastors, some things, but just different people. And we get to after our first scrimmage, and I asked the guys, "Hey, what are our pillars, or what is our culture built on?" The guys, went to, and they immediately said, we're going to fight and we're going to be together. And I was like, okay, that's great. And, that's not necessarily something that, I had some other things that I had written in the locker room that I thought were our pillars, but they hung on to those things. And so, that kind of showed me where we were with our culture. And I needed to do a better job of talking about some things that maybe were more relating to off the court with our passion, servant leadership, thankfulness, and toughness. and implement those in different ways because the guys, it wasn't sticking to them yet. And so, we spent some time going along with those things. And then they were like, after I said them, they were like, oh yeah, 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 we got those too. But it wasn't sticking yet. And so that was something that was just a reminder of like, okay, asking them what was our program built on, kind of reemphasize like, hey, what do I need to spend my time talking to them about?
I love that. And I think that's something that we all need to do with our teams during one of those PGC weeks, or a week of PGC Point Guard College was the session that I got to direct. There was I think it was Wednesday nights, and it was always when we let the parents come in. We would kind of talk about some different things with the athletes that players definitely needed to know, but it was good for parents to hear it too. And one of it was there's like 6 or 7 things, and one was coaches and how to deal with coaches. And as a player, maybe you have, and we kind of went through the list. Maybe you have the best coach ever that communicates things well. Maybe you have a coach that you're not too sure about, or maybe you have one that just is shutting you down all the time. And we kind of help them through each of those scenarios. But I would always ask them to write down and say, hey guys, right now, take out a sheet of paper and write down, what are your coach's pillars? What are the pillars of your program? And I said, you got 2 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you, I'm going to cold call on some of you to share. And you would just see so many eyes staring at me. I would say, okay, maybe standards and pillars, that doesn't make sense. What are some of the words or phrases that you see around in your locker room, on the back of t-shirts, things that you break out to, things that you talk about a lot? And coach, some of them would have it. I would guess probably 20% of the room would know. And you could say, well, that's just players. They don't care enough for that. We're the weird ones. We're the only ones that care about those things. Maybe, but it might also be that we really haven't taught it very well. And I think just like anything else, if we want it to be ingrained, I think we have to hit it again and again and again, but we also have to connect it to them on a personal level. So if our culture is only about basketball or our team, that's okay, but it might not be as powerful as, all right, excellence. Excellence allows you to show up as your very, very best every day in anything that you do. And excellence, if you pursue that, it's not perfection, but it will help you with your marriage. It will help you with your job. I think connecting our culture, our standards to something bigger may be a way that if we're to, and I just wrote down, quiz your players about what your standards and your pillars are and see where they're at. Don't be afraid to do it, right?
I think so. And, this is just one way because I wrote down, how do these work for you as a person first, then academically, spiritually, and athletically? I think, you know, that's a great way to look at it. And whatever your pillars are, if, you're trying to make your players better people, better in the classroom, better spiritually and athletically, then that allows us to be transformational coaches, right? Instead of transactional coaches. And that's been a real struggle for me my last couple years in high school. And then obviously now at the college level, it's just like everything is just so transactional. So like, I'm going to give you playing time. You're going to play for me. And then if we're really good, you're going to transfer up to a Division II or Division I school. And if we're really bad, then you're going to transfer because we weren't very good. And so it's like, it's just a very transactional environment. And so this is one way where we can consistently be transformational with our pillars or with our culture. And whether the guy sticks or not, like, I feel like we've done our job in making it bigger than basketball. And so that's what helps me sleep at night, is knowing that, like, hey, if a kid makes a really bad decision, at least we've talked about it and then we've worked on, how to problem solve or how to handle confrontation the right way, or, how to treat women, or those types of things that are, you know, transformational characteristics. Then, if they choose to do something, then it's on them and it's not on us because we've at least broached the subject. And so I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. What are your thoughts?
I think you're right. And I'm so glad that you brought up the transformational versus transactional thing, because I think in college basketball, from an outsider's view, it looks incredibly transactional now, to the point where I don't know, how does Coach Drew do it? And I bring him up because they're one of the teams, and they're probably not the only one, but they have 0 players returning from last year's team. So culture, no seniors or returning players to carry on those or pass on the torch. You're starting right over. But then there has to be this idea that creeps in of why care about the person? Why do that when there's a really good chance that 75% or more of these dudes won't be with us a year from now? I think guys like me and you and all those, I think we're going to be tested more than ever before of really why are we doing this? Because I don't know about you, when I was especially younger at Grapevine Faith, we'd have players that every once in a while would choose to go to another school. And coach, I took it personal. Like I it hurt, and I tried to figure out why. Like, why would they choose to go somewhere? What am I missing? What am I not bringing? What's wrong with our culture, our school? So I guess my question to you is, in your world now, how do you continue to be transformational when there's a really good shot that you only have 1 year with these guys?
Yeah. So for me, and again, I could be totally wrong. I've gotten advice from people that I think are doing the job really well at our level. So Delton Deal, who's at Nelson University,
Yeah.
uh, Donnie Boswick, who's at Oklahoma Wesleyan. These are guys that are at places for a long time. And so I think the first thing is like consistency as a coach. And this is something I haven't done a ton of. I was out in San Angelo Wall for 6 years as a head coach, but like, if you're somewhere for a long time, then that helps. So, like, if the coach is there for a while, then that helps because the player knows that the coach isn't going anywhere, and you're kind of that cornerstone of the basketball program at Grapevine Faith or now at Midway, right? Like you're the guy that's there when they think
I've
of your
had
program,
that
they think of
had
you.
that for 12 years. And what's interesting is now being in year 1 and not having that at all. What I've noticed is that not that I wasn't careful about what I said at Faith, but I didn't have to think about it at all. I was just
Right.
existing in a culture that I've been a part of and that a lot of these kids have kind of grown up in. And so we were all speaking the same language. I realize that my language is very different right now as far as
Yeah.
the way that I talk about the game, the way that we act together, the way that we train. And I've caught myself like wondering why is this so, and thankfully I have my wonderful wife, Miss Jana, the beautiful Miss Jana, that reminds me that it takes time. So for those guys that
Yeah.
may be in year 12, awesome, man. Like, keep enjoying that environment, but also keep watering your grass, right? Like, keep making it special. Don't relax. But then if you're stepping into someplace new like you and I are, meet them where they are, remind yourself, and I'm telling myself this right now, that it takes time because I have forgotten what year 1 at Faith felt like, or
All
2
right.
or 3, and I think it's probably I felt the same way that I do now.
Yeah. And even at the high school level, like you can be transformational for more than just the players in your program. I had English students when I was in Wall or at Boswell or even at Lake Ridge that still will send me emails and keep me up to date on things that are going on. And so you can be transformational in the classroom just as easily or maybe sometimes even easier for some students than you can for your basketball team. And so I think that was helpful. And it's the same thing in a small Christ-based college environment. I mean, we have 600 students total, and some of these students were my campers at summer camp. And then so there's some things there where you can kind of build a deeper relationship. But one thing I tell our players is, there are some promises that I can make. Number one, we're going to care about you as a person first. And so whatever happens on the court, once we're off the 94 feet, then, our relationship is not going to be strained. So whatever happens on the court, I'm not going to let that carry over to off the court. I haven't always been good about that as a coach, especially when I was younger. Number two, we're going to help you grow academically, athletically, and spiritually. And so that's a promise we can make. We're going to push you in those three areas. The next one is like, if you graduate from Florida College, then you're going to be part of my basketball family for life because it is special now. if a guy stays in your college, whether they're a junior and they come for 2 years, if they graduate from your school and they're an alumni from Florida
Yeah.
College, that's a big deal now. And so now they're part of my basketball family forever. And so those are some promises that I can make to them, and that allows me to continue to be, you know, transformational to the 25% that I may coach. And that doesn't mean I won't have a relationship with some of these other guys that if they decide to transfer up or do whatever, but it's not going to be the same. You know, it's a little bit deeper bond.
Couple great points there, coach. I think the first one was whether we've been at a place for a long time or just starting, zoom out. Don't only be the basketball coach or only focused on those 20, 30, 40 kids in your program. Zoom out and let the regular student or the student body know that you're there for them, the ones in your classroom, but also to the other sports. Like figure out times for your program to go watch volleyball. We're going to all go to a volleyball game or we're going to wear NBA jerseys. It's going to be jersey night for us. We're all going to be at the football games. And when on football day, we're going to walk around, we're going to give them, hey, good luck and high fives. But then also zoom out and invest in other coaches, get to know the coaches of other sports, especially the ones that like basketball and football were pretty interlinked. And so there's a lot of conversations with us, but maybe have them not be about multi-sport players, just about how their season's going to be. I think we can do a better job of zooming out. And then maybe then if you're having a bad season from the outward success with wins and losses, maybe then you're able to stay at that place because you're so valuable. You don't just coach basketball, you're a part of the fabric of the school. But I don't think that happens if you don't zoom out.
Yeah, no, it's really hard to do, right? Like we all get tunnel vision. And I know you just got done talking to Matt Farmer, and you know, Matt and I, we coached against each other. We were both like freshman coaches, and I was at Bryan and he was at Brenham, but like now that he's an athletic director and president of TABC, you know, he sees it from that lens all the time. And you know, it just makes for a better environment. Like people don't quit their jobs because they make zero money. Like coaches don't quit because they don't make a lot of money. A lot of times it's they don't feel appreciated. And so when you make a sport like swimming feel appreciated, or if you make a sport like soccer, you know, if you go out to a soccer match, like that's a big deal for those other players, and they're going to remember that forever when the basketball team showed up and cheered us on to a 2-1 victory over a district opponent. So, you know, it may be a highlight for someone else, but it's just something that you're doing, you know, to kind of build your program, but it could be someone else's highlight.
Point right there. Another thing that I jotted down, I don't remember what Stoic said it, but one of them said, you can choose to not have an opinion on something. I think sometimes, especially in a school setting, there are going to be, this all comes from your point of getting to know swim and what they're doing and things like that. As important as basketball is to us, the drill team competition is just as important to them. But I don't know about you, coach. I struggle thinking like that. And when they need the gym and I can't be in there, I have a really big opinion on that. But I
Yeah.
think there's going to be times where we just have to let it go and we get to choose what we have opinions on and we don't. And I think if we don't, like you said, the tunnel vision, you're right on the money. If we don't have that, then we can zoom out more and we can choose to not have opinions on things that we have no control over. And just maybe we'll be happier people and enjoy our jobs even more. But everything I'm telling you we're talking about, I need to listen to this in probably a month when school starts and when these things are coming up or in the spring when they're testing in the gym. And just remember, let it go. It'll be okay. And you know what? And that's my last point, and then I'll let you keep going, is COVID. COVID taught me how it's kind of like what Art Briles said. He said practice is overrated. And when he said that, I kind of jumped back a little bit. I caught my breath like, what? Are you serious? He obviously practice is important, but I think we view everything as it's just the most important thing that it ever like how are we gonna function if we can't do anything with the guys all three? During COVID, there were months where we didn't see our players. And then finally school got back in and you know what? We were just fine. We picked up right where we were, and the program didn't fall apart. We were still able to have a team and do things. So I think we can let go a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, coaches have to be problem solvers, not complainers. And so someone told me that, I think it was Beth Jesrin when she was the women's coach at Bryan High School. And, she's just like, hey, don't be a complainer, just be a problem solver. And so, and then there was a term, with COVID, with the term pivot, right? We just pivot. And so, like, when I heard pivot, all I thought was my footwork in basketball. But then it became like a term that we used. That's right. Then it became a term that we used to problem solve. And so, like, that's been really helpful for me. And, there's going to be things come up that are definitely not ideal, especially at the public high school setting. But if we can just problem solve, find the next best action, then our players recognize that, hey, coach is not worried about not getting in the main gym today. Like, coach is just ready to work, and like that'll carry over to our players as well.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.